Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim, and Chris. On today's Madrid catch-up,
Djokovic is dumped out by Arnaldi.
defending champ Rublev loses to drop out of the top 15.
And a power outage cancels play for the day at the Caja Mágica.
Kim, Chris, today is the 28th of April, and we are here to catch up on the week in tennis at Tennis Weekly HQ, brought to you by Sports Travel and Hospitality Group. We've reached the midway point in Madrid where a power cut has cancelled play for the day. Despite this, it's been another tournament to forget for Novak Djokovic, whilst defending champion Andrey Rublev also fell. For the women, the top seeds are more or less intact, but Stuttgart champion Elena Ostapenko is out, as is Elena Raducanu, who lost to Elina Svitolina. And though Carlos Alcaraz wasn't fit enough for Madrid, his docuseries Carlos Alcaraz My Way has arrived on Netflix. We'll be talking about that in the second half. And there is also talk of an informal agreement between Emma Raducanu and coach Mark Petchey. So lots, as always, on the slate for today's episode. But guys, today it has been a dramatic day in Madrid. Well, in Spain, really, and Portugal, because, I mean, I don't ever recall this ever happening before, but a power outage has happened.
I've never heard of this. I can say I am here. I can reveal there's not a power outage in Denmark. And we do hope, obviously, that everyone is okay over there. We really do. But in terms of the tennis, it's probably the tennis event's worst nightmare that you can't actually play without your technology.
Yeah, we've seen, rain stopping play, other weather events, perhaps heat in Australia.
Wasn't there
but never
floods as well?
electricity. Yeah, and it's well, play has been cancelled from Madrid for the day, so that's not just because they don't have the electronic line calling up and running. It's for the safety of everyone, on site and generally, but also in Estoril, I think they also were affected, but I believe they were able to carry on a little bit behind closed doors. So yeah, it's pretty shocking. I mean, Coco Gauff will probably feel that she was being silenced because the power went out during her post-match.
I didn't like her speech, Kim.
She must have thought, what have I done wrong? But I think we gradually realised it was affecting, the whole country, not just tennis court.
Can I just say, I actually think, I know this is a very serious matter, and as you said, I hope everyone is safe in Spain and Portugal. But for a 2-week Masters event, I think this has actually made it more exciting. It's perked me up for this event because I don't feel like we've I don't know. It's just,
you want to up the ante. You want to get back to that very full day of play. I think that's something that we haven't seen for a while. We will be previewing all the action that will be coming, and there's a lot that they've got to finish, a lot of the matches we were going to cover. So I hope we won't just be shooting the breeze today, Kim. That we will
There's
actually have some
to talk
tennis.
About. Yeah, it's fine. There's still plenty to talk about. Plenty of Brits also still in action due to be on today. And there's also been quite a few things off the court, shall we say, that's been catching our eye as well. I mean, I personally was a big fan of last week at the Laureus Awards, where Rafa won the Sporting Icon Award. Obviously, as a Rafa fan, I have to throw that out there for those of you listeners who weren't aware.
There.
Shock.
Yeah, so this was last week in Madrid. He was awarded the the Sporting Icon Award. He's previously won the World Sportsman many years ago, as rightfully won. But it was nice to see him collecting a very fitting award, I thought. And at least, the lights were on for that ceremony last week. This episode is brought to you by Sports Travel and Hospitality Group,
the leading provider of travel, hospitality, and customer experiences at global sporting events, including this year's Roland-Garros.
By booking with Sports Travel and Hospitality Group, tennis fans around the world can witness the pinnacle of the clay court season unfold, all the while indulging in luxurious hospitality that only Roland-Garros can provide.
As an official agent of Roland-Garros, Sports Travel and Hospitality Group guarantees you unrivaled views from the best seats in the house on Philippe Chatrier, as well as world-class cuisine and beverages served on site.
With Sports Travel and Hospitality Group, you also have access to the matches of your choosing, with 3 package tiers available across the entire tournament.
Learn more and book your Roland-Garros hospitality package today at sportstravelhospitality.com/Roland-Garros. That's sportstravelhospitality.com/Roland-Garros.
So what are you waiting for? Secure your premium seat at Roland-Garros today for a once-in-a-lifetime Grand Slam tennis experience.
The link is in the description.
But what about yourselves? What's kind of caught your eye this past week? Joel?
Ooh.
Well, I've been watching a bit of the Carlos Alcaraz Netflix docuseries, which we're going to be getting onto in the second half. But I just want to give a little tease, because whilst I was watching it, all of a sudden, all sorts of players were popping up on my screen, giving their kind of 2 cents on kind of the story. And then Garbiñe Muguruza appeared, and it caught me by surprise a little bit. But I just think I enjoyed seeing Muguruza's presence in the tennis realm, because we've not really had
You're
a lot
big
of that
fan as
on
well,
the
aren't you,
court.
Joel?
Yeah,
you love her.
I mean, I
think
we're coming up to the year anniversary of her retirement, and she still has been involved in tennis. I know she's done a little bit of commentary,
WTA finals, tournament director in Riyadh.
Yeah, exactly. So she's dabbling in a few different things, and I know that she does like her traveling. And I did see she had an interview with I think it was Tennis Channel, and she was giving her travel chips.
Travel chips. What's her favorite condiment?
Yeah. She was giving her travel tips, her top 3 travel tips for flying. So I feel like I just, she gallivants across the globe.
What were they?
They were, tip number 1, check in and pick your seat.
That's
all very well, but everyone's got to check in. So that's sort of like an essential.
Next, come on.
Okay. Tip 2, always bring enough water for the flight.
Yeah,
True.
Can't disagree with that.
Can't rely on the airline providing it.
No, too expensive. Tip 3, I need an eye mask to sleep during a long flight.
Would agree.
Do you take a mask?
Well, I never used to wear them, but ever since I flew to Australia like 10 or so years ago, I had an eye mask. They give you the pack in your seat. And I started wearing them. And I've, ever since to this day,
You've never taken them off. She's wearing one right now, listeners. If you come onto our YouTube.
Got an invisible one for the day as well.
Where would you pick your seat as well? Big question.
Aisle? You're an aisle.
Window?
I'm
aisle.
aisle.
Toilet,
no one goes middle.
I'm aisle, close to the front. I like a 9,
really?
A 10.
Row 5,
Oh, you're in business class, Kim.
Well, I'm thinking EasyJet, short.
Yes.
So there's no business class.
No business class.
I'm not going to lie. When it says pick your seat, I don't actually get afforded the ability to pick my seat, because I don't want to pay the extra to the airlines I fly on to pick my seat.
So I
just leave it up to
your
the gods.
companions, right?
But I do hope for the window. I hope for the window seat, because I just want to look one way and not get up and be bothered by people getting to the loo, etc. So I'm a window seat person.
Well, I mean, that was Joel's travel tips for our listeners and Kim's. I think they largely agree with Muguruza. On another topic that is also Madrid related, and a name that we don't always hear about in tennis. We do hear the surname, we do hear Korda mentioned regularly, but Peter Korda did come up in the conversation because Casper Ruud played against Seb Korda, and obviously a very famous father, slightly less famous for Christian Ruud. I don't mean to cause any offense there. Didn't win a slam in the same way, but when they played, Casper actually said that he was particularly motivated because he thought his dad had lost to Peter before, so he was going out there and seeking revenge for the family. He hadn't done much research, because actually that was the opposite of what happened. It was one of the best wins of Christian Ruud's career when he upset Peter Korda in Miami in 1999. So now it's a double sort of destruction for the Ruuds over the Kordas, which is slightly surprising given the fact that, they both have very good pedigree in the family. But maybe someone should just tell him the head-to-head against his father is something that it's not, and then maybe Casper would turn up.
I mean, it's quite unfortunate he sort of thought the worst of his dad. Like,
there's no way he'd beat Peter Korda.
He didn't have any faith. Yeah. Wonder if his dad was a bit annoyed about that. But,
generational head-to-head. I do like that, because it reminds me, because there was a big boxing match this week in the UK, and that had generational vibes going on. It was the Eubank family versus the Ben family. So yeah, very, very interesting. But I mean, 26 years ago, I feel like he could be afforded maybe to forget.
Well, was he even around then? Casper is 26, I think. So He's busy. He's doing other things.
Miami Open
He was growing.
1999. That is where it's happened. So yeah.
Blast from the past there, but yes, no. Let's have a look at what did happen in Madrid this week so far. Anyway, before the electricity outage got the better of everyone, and yeah, there was only I think one intergenerational matchup so far. But we've had let's start with who wasn't there because Carlos Alcaraz has withdrawn or did withdraw because of injury. When we reported on the Barcelona Open final last week, we were saying how he tweaked his upper leg, his groin, his hamstring, and yes, he is having to take a few weeks out, rest and recovery, but hoping to be back for the French Open. You guys worried he might not make it to Roland-Garros to defend his title, or you think he's being sensible and just taking the time out he needs?
I'm not worried. I think he'll be okay. He's young, he's fit. I'm sure he'll be able to rebound from this, and it probably is more of a precaution. And we do know that for some of the more traditional clay quarters, Madrid is not always a happy hunting ground from a title perspective. I mean, Nadal never really loved playing in Madrid. And I think if you're going to miss one, you're going to skip one, I'd skip Madrid. I'd play Rome. The conditions are more similar. Yeah. And let's get that head-to-head going with Jannik Sinner again.
I know that's the thing I'm slightly interested by is Rome, because it has slightly maybe cooled my expectations of getting a Sinner Alcaraz match there, and that's got a very interesting backdrop because I was reading today about obviously the Pope has passed away, in the last few days, and they've now got the I think the conclave happening in Vatican City. So Rome, I think it could be as equally, I guess, chaotic maybe as Madrid, because it's going to be all sorts going on in the backdrop.
I don't think Jannik Sinner will have to participate in the conclave, as far as I'm aware. But I think he'll be other ideas on the tennis court. But then Alcaraz, I think, hopefully we'll see him there as well. And I think based on some of the injuries he's had before, he doesn't like to come back before he is ready. And we've seen a few people actually pulled out. I think we saw Holger Rune, last week's champion, also pulled. Well, he did actually take to the court, but wasn't able to complete that, I believe. Oh, no, he didn't take to the court. I don't know if he took to the court, but I do know he exited very early. And I think that's probably the case, that it's very hard to back it up. And it is quite a brutal schedule. I mean, you don't get much rest if you won the title on the Sunday. So that is something that I was going to say, Kim. It gives me all the more admiration for the likes of Nadal and the fact that they did just win everything in a clay court season. And they were 1 week masters.
Oh, it's mammoth, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous in hindsight. And also my predictions have been shocking. I think I had a double Danish
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Event, and that's obviously fallen by the wayside. But do you think Carlos Alcaraz is going to be doing some partying while he's injured and, laid off? Because there were some comments around that, from Roberto Bautista Agut that Carlos is going to bed at 7 a.m, he said, and maybe being a bit too much of a party animal. What do you make of those remarks?
What's going on here? I thought all Spanish players just have a big love-in and all love each other. That's
a normal Spanish bedtime, isn't it? They go to bed very late. 7 a.m. is probably about the average. But Joel, have you seen Carlos Alcaraz in a Wetherspoons near you?
I can confirm I have not. But these comments did catch me off guard, because the way that Carlos Alcaraz is presented to me as a fan, it does give me this idea that he's a party animal, maybe like a Nick Kyrgios, where there are other things going on. Tennis isn't just like the be all end all. The way I feel like he's got to where he is like pure commitment and dedication to the game. But having said that, maybe it's a work hard, play hard mentality.
Well, check out the documentary. You might find out some more, Joel, about some of the potential antics.
Plugging that.
Yeah.
I mean, one person that might want to go partying to, I don't know, relieve some of the pressure at the moment and the sort of lack of form is Novak Djokovic, because he has now lost 3 matches on the trot, which is something we don't really ever see. He lost to Matteo Arnaldi 6-3, 6-4 in his opener in Madrid. And yeah, just really not at the races. I personally keep thinking, he's had a couple of bad losses, to the likes of, Tabilo, for example, in Monte Carlo. But surely he's going to turn it around and it will suddenly, go back to how we know and know him off, but it seems that it's continuing. And I mean, what is going on with him? Do you think there's something he's not telling the world? Because it's really unlike Djokovic, isn't it?
It's very
What's your theory, Chris?
uncharacteristic. It's very uncharacteristic. I feel like we've seen this a few times before where maybe there has been an injury or there's been some sort of a triumph against adversity. I'm not sure what's going on here. I do think there's a lot more physical issues, but there's also a lot more unforced errors. And there seems to be a lot less desire to be on the tennis court. And I'm not sure that this is, well, if it's connected to the fact that he did complete tennis, this is a man who has completed tennis, the GOAT of tennis. I mean, if you look at any of the statistics, so I think it must be hard to find the motivation, but I also am surprised he's putting himself in situations where he isn't really fit to be playing and he's playing tennis, because a lot of the comments afterwards are not like Djokovic of old, where he would say, you know what, they played better tennis. I didn't play as well as I should have done. Or he said that his level wasn't necessarily great, but it just feels like he's not really at the races, but he's trying to see if he can kind of muster up something. And it's quite hit or miss. I mean, obviously, he did have that final in Miami, which was a great result for him, in a semi-final. Well, I shouldn't say great result. Obviously, he'd want to win that, but he was very competitive in that. But some of the results, the straight sets losses that he's had this year, I mean, it is 3 straight set losses in a row, which is it's not good for him. So there's no great theory here, but I'm not convinced we're going to see Novak Djokovic holding another Grand Slam title. I think we're at the point where the age is getting that little bit higher and it's getting that bit trickier to stay fit. I would love to see it, but I just don't think that this feels the same as some of those other sort of lulls that have had, small lulls he's had in his career.
I mean, maybe he'll still be able to get his 100th tour level title, go down to a T50 and get that. But I mean, I'm not writing him off just yet. I think he could still maybe have a slam in him, but not more than one, maybe.
I don't think so. I just think like he's just not playing good tennis at the moment. I mean, the match against Arnaldi, 32 unforced errors. He was only winning 40% on his second serve as well. And I just feel like, there's a motivation issue, maybe particularly in the early rounds. Like, I still feel like he can bring out his best tennis against, like a top tenner or, a player higher up the rankings. But it feels like he's having real stumbling blocks earlier on in tournaments. And it's anyone's guess, I think, in terms of coming to the French Open. Like, how is he going to perform? What can we expect of him? Because it's obviously best of 5. He has won, lots and lots of Grand Slams before. But I would ask, how much do you feel like that counts for when, as I say, the tennis on the court has just not been the standard, we know that Novak Djokovic can deliver?
Well, I mean, beating Alcaraz at the start of the year in a slam is probably the result that I'm looking to most at this point. I think that's
Paris Olympics.
I mean, it wasn't 5 sets. So I think that's something where that is a bit different. I think physically we have a lot less question marks around that. When it comes to the results this year, I mean, he knows he can do it. And when he is playing well, we've seen him, dismantle Dimitrov. We've seen him play some really great tennis. But it's just so hit or miss. You just don't know who you're going to get, which Djokovic you're going to get. And I think that's the problem. I don't think he knows either. And I think that's something that if you are not fit and you do not want to be playing, maybe it would be a case that you focus on Wimbledon or you focus on the one slam that you really want. We talked about this previously. I think Billie Jean King said that. I'm not his manager. I'm not going to make any decisions, and he knows better than anybody else. But it feels like the full season is not necessarily something that works the best for him now, and maybe more of a limited schedule might work a bit better because he didn't play much before coming to Wimbledon last year.
It does feel like we're getting into kind of it feels like, when Serena Williams was getting towards the end of her career and sort of picking and choosing and really focusing on the Grand Slams because that's what, is still there and still motivates you. I just question how hard it is to just turn up and play and be there to win. And it feels to me like we're going to head into Roland-Garros and Djokovic is still going to be using those earlier rounds maybe to find some form and get that spark, because it doesn't feel like he's getting it in the build up. And, we might have one last shot at it in Rome. But it's hard to see where it's coming from at the moment.
We will look back on this clip and he'll have won
Yes, I
5
know.
more Grand Slams
banana
the
next
next
year.
The
5.
next 3 slams. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Don't write him off yet. That's
Oh.
been the story of his career, I think, partially. But I mean, great win for Arnaldi, who did say that Djokovic, was his lifelong kind of idol. So he's obviously great to get a victory, even though he knows that it's not the standard Djokovic we come to expect. But well done, Arnaldi. Another player, I feel like this is a bit of a negative run of results, but Andrey Rublev, he's out. He lost to Bublik in 3 sets. To not defend his title, sadly, and he's now out of the top 15 as a result. His lowest ranking since January 2020, just before the pandemic. So yeah, really not having a great run of form at the moment, and Bublik getting the job done. Bit of a weird second set though. Rublev winning that set 6-love. So what do you make of that? I tell you, Joel, you're looking very baffled. Your expression.
I mean, Rublev is really on the slide at the moment, and his results just generally at the Masters events have not been good this season. He's got a 1-4 record, lone victory at Monte Carlo, and I sort of had a bit of promise going into Madrid, because when he won the title last year, it didn't feel like he was in the best of form, and it was a bit of a surprise that he won that title, and I wondered if he could go on a similar path there and, maybe be sparked a little bit by, his a new kind of partnership with, Marat Safin in the team. But it just feels like his game is off at the moment, particularly with, timing around the baseline wasn't particularly great. I know that Bublik is very hot and cold and very unpredictable, and that makes him quite a tricky, player to play against in terms of concentration and keeping focus. But it's been part of a bigger trend, and I sadly I can't see where the slide stops at the moment, because it's not a focused Rublev. It feels like he needs to get to a point where he's just focusing on his tennis, because it's very up and down at the moment.
He's doing a lot of work off the court, so I think maybe that's connected to this. You have to hope that off the court work is working well, and that then happy off the court, happy on the court. But Kim, was there any more positive news from Madrid?
Yeah, well, there was, fortunately, and that's from a British perspective, because we've got 3 Brits into the 3rd round. I mean, Jacob Fearnley, let's talk about him, because he got his biggest ever win of his career, beating Thomas Machak in 3 sets, coming from losing the first set pretty comprehensively as well, 6-1, to come through 6-3, 6-2 in the last 2 sets. So that's fantastic. Jack Draper, he beat Talon Griegspoor, so he's through, beat him in straight sets. And then Cam Norrie, he beat Grigor. No, sorry, he didn't beat Grigor Dimitrov. Lehechka. What am I saying? He's Dimitrov's playing Fearnley in the next round. He beat Lehechka, another Czech, in 3 sets, 6-love in the 3rd set. So, yeah, the Brits getting the job done over some Czech players, coming from a set down. But that's great for Cam Norrie, because obviously he has really dropped. His ranking's gone right down, really not been at the races himself. So, and I think he's got a winnable next match against Diallo of Canada. So we'll see if he can, make a bit of a run perhaps. And as for Fearnley, I mean, however far he goes, he's come through qualifying to get here. So, he's got Dimitrov next round. Wow. He's given his best shot. He's got
Dimitrov at the moment, and I think he broke back when Dimitrov was serving for the match, only for the power
the
outage.
electricity. Yes,
yeah,
of course.
saved a match point, and then it was game over. Yeah. I mean, goodness, that's quite dramatic, but still, we're having a bit more success on the dirt, aren't we, us Brits?
Who's kind of impressed you the most out of our, British male contenders so far?
Well, that's a good question. We've got to say different people. I'm going to say Fearnley, because after losing that first set, I also don't necessarily think he's got the clay pedigree necessarily. So I was quite surprised by that result, the way he turned it around, because Machak's definitely no easy customer, and he's played some great matches this year, very comfortable on the surface. So I think that's probably the biggest win, because I think Jack's got some big game on any surface, and Norrie is someone who is more comfortable, I think, on a hard court, but still can do some damage on clay.
I'm going to say Draper. I think I've been impressed with. was impressed with the manner of the victory, I think, against Griekspoor. I always talk about him as one of the players who's had a very
love
very
him
good,
at the moment,
yeah,
Joel.
he's had a very good season. You know, he pushed Zverev to the limit in in Munich. So for him to come through in straight sets 6-3, 6-4, I thought that was a very tricky customer that he got done in very routine fashion. So yeah, I've been impressed with Draper, and that's hope it continues. I think he's got Berrettini next, which could be quite interesting. So yeah, but I've been impressed with Draper.
That's good. Yeah, well, let's hope he can, continue from having won his Masters title earlier in the year. But let's now have a look at the WTA side of things, because, I mean, we've got to begin with Maria Sakkari, who we've really written off, but she's actually potentially
singing her praises,
doing something here.
She is.
She's beaten Jasmine Paolini 6-2, 6-1 very comfortably to get into the fourth round. It's been a long time since she's actually beaten a top 10 player. I think going back sort of over a year ago was the last time she got a win over a top 10er.
Who's laughing?
Well, who's laughing now? Yeah, Chris, I think you said she was clutching at straws, rehiring her old coach.
I used the D word. I did say desperate. So I'm looking straight to camera. I'd like to issue a formal apology to Maria Sakkari. I do believe this partnership is a good thing, and I think the success is going to continue.
What is Peyton Stern's loss is Maria Sakkari's gain at the moment.
Yeah, is that where Tom was before?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so
it does seem he's given her a bit of a rejuvenation, perhaps.
The feeling of the familiar coming back. I mean, it's always sad when you see a champion who is so good and has been so good and probably had quite a lot of chances that she could have taken previously, and then isn't necessarily enjoying herself on the court. So it's great to see that. I think it's always great to see someone who's also very good on clay, because I think we've seen a few results from some players who maybe aren't the most comfortable. And it does just mean some of these draws can get a bit iffy if you don't have that sort of clay pedigree like Sakkari has had previously.
And I completely forgot the last player to defeat Iga Swiatek on clay at the French Open, Maria Sakkari.
Straight sets. 4-4, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
quarterfinal.
I completely forgot that ever happened. Is that the year that Sakkari then went to the semis?
2021, and then Krejcikova won it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that year.
Paolini did not have a great day, it has to be said. So I think Sakkari has, is it Svitolina next?
Don't take anything away from her. We already said the negative thing last week. We're positive this week.
Sorry. Okay.
But Svitolina's playing well, very well.
Yeah, I think this will be a real test of where the Sakkari Hill partnership is at the moment.
Yes, and one player who might need a bit of a spring in her step is Jessica Pegula. She had a bit of a shock loss to Uchiyama of Japan, 6-3, 6-2, which was surprising given that Pegula's been coming in on a great run of form. Picked up the title in Charleston, got the career WTA Tour winning player at the moment, but for the year. But yeah, Uchiyama getting the win, and in doing so, getting her first ever, not just top 10 win, but top 25 win.
Wow.
So fantastic stuff for her, because not a player that many of us would necessarily, be following or knowing too much about. But she was, by far the outstanding player, and she's, I think, also this season she beat Emma Raducanu earlier. She has beaten Ostapenko. So yeah, getting a couple of good wins this year. Chris, I'm going to come to you, as I always do, with players that maybe our listeners aren't too familiar with. What do you make of Uchiyama? Where do you think she's at? What can we expect from her going forwards?
I think it's really nice to have her coming up and playing so well. I think she's someone who doesn't get at all kind of deterred by the moment. I think she does enjoy playing some of those big players, and I mean, she's very solid. I think you could say for her performance, it wasn't the best tennis she's ever played against Pegula, but it definitely wasn't Pegula's best level. And you can only beat the player in front of you. And Pegula hit 46 unforced errors. She hit 33 unforced errors. But it is a case of play better than your opponent and you're probably going to get the win. So I think for her, it'll be big. I think Madrid can lead to a few slightly surprising results. And it does obviously play very differently from the clay of Charleston, where Pegula obviously did get the win. But in terms of her form, I mean, she's definitely a player to take note of, because she is moving up the rankings. She's becoming a bit of a regular fixture at some of these bigger tournaments. And hopefully she will continue to do well. But she's got Alexandrova next, who seems to be the form clay player, which I never thought I'd be saying. But she's really had a good start to the clay season. So we'll see how long the run goes on for. But I'm feeling a bit better about that Emma Raducanu loss now.
Do you think do you think that Charleston result is a bit of a misnomer in terms of translation from like American green clay to kind of European red clay? Because I've been reading some interesting things around like Charleston almost actually playing like a hard court, and that's why Jessica Pegula plays so well there, because arguably hard is her best surface. Whereas clay, maybe there's a little bit more inconsistency because she lost early also, last week in Stuttgart, this week as well. Do you think there's a little bit of a like false deception with that Charleston kind of championship, and actually Jessica Pegula as a beacon of consistency as she is? And to be fair, I think I was reading she's played 10 events this season, so she's played a lot of tennis. Is there still work to be done there?
I mean, the way that it plays, I think it was Anisimova also made the comment, it's in between a hard and a clay court. So apparently it's very good for transitioning. But at the same time, pretty much everyone who's played in Charleston hasn't necessarily done that well, except for Alexandrova at this event. I think probably it's better to get onto the European clay. Ben Shelton went straight to the European clay this year. I think previously he had played Houston. I think probably it's not the best warm-up, but if you don't really want to be on the clay, it might be a good one to get some ranking points out.
Well, one player who has, had a great week recently, Jelena Ostapenko winning Stuttgart, she is out. She will not be playing Iga Swiatek. I'm sure Iga Swiatek's delighted. She lost to Sevastova, who
She's
then
back.
in turn, who's back, but she then in turn got double bageled by Diana Schneider. So, quite up and down for Sevastova, but Schneider now through the one to play Swiatek. So I'm sure Swiatek seeing a double bagel will, be wanting to maybe, open her own bakery up again, but we'll have to see how that one goes. But yeah, Schneider, I mean, definitely at the races in that match, only the fourth player as well to win a women's singles match at the Madrid Open with a double bagel. So my question to you is, which other players have done that? Can you remember?
That's a tough
Since
question.
2009.
I'm going to go Dinara Safina. She loved a double bagel.
Well, and because she's working with Schneider now. She didn't. She didn't do one actually. It wasn't her.
Joel.
Any ideas?
No.
This isn't the quiz section,
This is
Kim.
tough.
It's not the quiz section, so
Kim's game
we won't
is not a
dwell
fun
on it.
one right now.
It was Azarenka, Simona Halep, and Coco Gauff have delivered double bagels, I should say, in Madrid. So there we have it.
I feel like we're glossing
over.
We're glossing over the fact that Jelena Ostapenko. I drank the Kool-Aid on Jelena Ostapenko last week on Stuttgart, and
it was never going to happen.
It was never going to happen. This is just so frustrating about the Ostapenko. The game plan is that it can be so good one week and then so bad the next week.
I know it's so inconsistent, and I mean, Swiatek will be delighted. However, she didn't have all things her own way, did she? Because she played Alexandra Ayala, who did so well, I think, in Miami earlier in the year and really emerged onto the tour. That went 3 sets. It wasn't easy for Swiatek. So, and they obviously, Ayala had beaten her, hadn't she, in Miami? So, a bit of a rematch. She got her revenge. But bit of a chance for Schneider. Are you sensing when she plays Swiatek coming up?
She won't be intimidated by the prospect, that's for sure. She really does kind of put her tennis onto you. She likes to take the ball early. It'll be interesting to see that matchup. I think it will be quite competitive. I was very impressed, though, that Swiatek did turn that one around against Ayala after she'd been in a similar situation previously where she did get up a break. She got pegged back, and Ayala did end up taking her out in straight sets. So I think for this, I think it's very impressive she did do that, because Swiatek needs wins. She's a defending champion. There's a big ranking deficit now between Sabalenka and her. Yeah. And I think that's probably a case that losing this match would really make her think, you know what, I'm maybe not the favourite for the French at this rate. So there still is a lot of good tennis being played. And I think if she can get through this tournament with the title, I think probably order will be restored on clay.
Yeah, it might just be what she needs just before the French at the right time. Positive news again, though, British female players. We've had some great news from the British men's side of things, but we had 3 British women through to the second round. Katie Boulter won her first ever match on clay on the WTA Tour.
How has it taken this long? I know that's a great achievement. I was like,
she does dodge the clay season, I think, where she can. She's not playing the 125, is she, or the 250 in Rouen?
She came through against Siniakova in 3 sets and then subsequently fell to Paolini in straights, which is, no shame in that. We also had Sonne Cartal beating Christian in straights and then losing to Svitolina in straight sets. Again, high caliber opponent, no shame in that. And then Emma Raducanu as well got the win over Susan Lamens and then fell to Marta Kostyuk in 3 sets. So, decent from the British girls. And just on Emma Raducanu, she has got Mark Petchey as sort of part of her team in Madrid. He's sort of there, but it's still informal, they're kind of saying, but going well early stages, are we sensing?
I hope he's being paid informal. Surely he is, but maybe the contract is on a
cash
day
in
by day.
hand.
Yeah, cash in hand, money under the table. I think it is going well. I mean, it's a good result. There's no shame in losing to Marta Kostyuk on clay.
No.
She's a very handy competitor. She's ranked far above her at the moment. And so I think probably it's a positive stepping stone. I would just love her to play a 250 or just step down a level.
Yeah.
Osaka is playing in San Melo. I think she's playing the 125. Get some clay matches under your belt. I think it would really help rather than just kind of the odd match and seeing if you're going to have another stellar run like the US Open. So hopefully maybe there'll be a bit of an influence there where she's able to actually play a bit more tennis. But it seems like she's managing her schedule to play less tennis to get better results. So we'll have to see.
It's a high risk, high reward
strategy
at the moment, isn't it?
It's a bit like maybe Carlos Alcaraz going partying and then winning the French, but without winning the French, I think is kind of what's happening on the Raducanu side of things at the moment.
Oh, clip that in case she does win the French.
I shouldn't say anything, should I?
Famous last words.
Yeah, Sakkari came Bakkari to bite me in the arse for that one, didn't it?
I mean, just before we go to a break, a really fun stat as well that's just come out that we've seen. Players born in the 1980s. So next week's ranking, so once Madrid's ended, in the WTA top 50, there will be no players who are born in the 1980s because Victoria Azarenka is going out of the top 50, sadly. And she is the last remaining player to be born in the 80s, which is it's quite sad, isn't it? But understandable at the same time.
30, 35 and over, would it be? Or 36 and over, essentially, right? So, I mean, there's not that many. I was thinking maybe there would be like a Tatiana Maria or someone like that, a wily competitor, but
there's still quite a few in 50 to 50 plus.
Yes. Okay, good.
I suppose, but at the
end of an era
top,
at the top.
Yeah, I mean, Martina Hingis was, I think, the first player born in the 80s to enter the top 50 in the rankings, and that was in 1995. So she would have been,
wow,
15, I guess. Also, then
time catches up with everyone. So
I
a
know.
good one,
Novak
30
Djokovic.
years.
Yeah. Well, generation.
Oh, he's still in the 80s,
maybe,
isn't he?
Maybe over. Yeah. So yeah, he'll be 38 very soon. His birthday's in May. So yes, let's see. But we're going to take a quick break now. But do join us in the second half where we'll be discussing Carlos Alcaraz's new docu-series, Carlos Alcaraz My Way, that's just landed on Netflix. Whether we should be ditching electronic line calling, that's in our mailbag, and we'll be looking ahead to the last week at the Madrid Masters as well. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly podcast brought to you by Sports Travel and Hospitality Group. And it's time, as always, to kick off the second half with another game. It's Joel's game this week. So, Joel, without further ado, over to you.
Yes, Chris did such a stellar job last week of Joel's game that he's inspired me.
Oh no!
To produce another
Spanish players
Joel's game, and we're gonna have another nationality themed edition because I do quite like these. So for all our listeners, this is simply higher, lower, or same in terms of rankings for these players, and you guys are going to play as a pair. And your theme this week is
Slovakian players. Come on, WTA Slovakian players.
It's German players part 2.
No, Joel.
Is it men this time? Oh no, it was men and women last time.
Who is left?
Okay,
German players part 2, and actually, most of these. I'm just going to say retirement edition.
Right, Kim.
Okay, past
you have got a very quiz appropriate chair going on there. I feel like you should be
I'm
the
in the
quid
mastermind chair.
You are
Hot
a little
seat.
bit, yes.
Right. Are you ready for your first player? I just need this is just to guess a ranking,
Right.
first of all. And I've got 6 names in total. The first name is Philip Kohlschreiber.
He was mentioned last week, wasn't he? Because
He didn't
you
come
said,
up.
Joel, that you thought he was going to come up. Okay.
So Philip Kohlschreiber, what ranking? What do you think his career high ranking was?
Is he in top 10?
No, surely not. I think he's more like 29 in the.
No, I think top 20 at least.
Right. Okay. We're going to say
I
two
think
numbers
maybe-
that are
This is wild.
different. Yeah.
This is
I think-
wild. Big
I
disparity
feel
already.
like he might have been around 14 in the world. Maybe not as high as top 10, but
I'm famously not good at this game, so whatever
Yeah.
Kim says, but I'm surprised by that.
maybe not. He definitely has been seeded at
Actually, you don't need an answer. Joel,
Well, it
tell
doesn't
us.
really matter, does it, for this one? Yeah.
But you're going to say, Kim, you're going to say 14?
Oh, why not? Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris, your radar is way off. Kim is actually
What?
very close. It's 16. 16 in the.
Kim, don't listen to me at this game. This is my blind
It's
spot.
not
It
This
really
is
is.
kryptonite.
Chris
Yeah.
is kryptonite. Okay,
Jasmine
right.
ATP players is not my specialist area.
So that is our starting position at 16. The next player I'm going to give you, Florian Mayer.
Amazing.
Higher, lower, or same?
That's a tough one.
I
It
think
is a
he
tough
might have
one.
I think he just entered top 20 once upon a time.
And so, what ranking are we at now?
16.
I don't think he was above 16.
No, I think lower, but only just probably.
Maybe around the 20 mark, 19 or 20.
Yeah, I think 19.
Lower?
We're going with
lower.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Lower? That is correct. Florian Mayer, career high ranking, 18. So
That's a
very
bit
close.
mean at this
Far
stage of the game, Joel.
It is. I was trying to make it trickier because I've always felt like I've been a bit soft.
You want to try and make the
begin
episode a
with.
bit shorter, do you?
But yeah, that is one correct answer. Right, next player. Yulia Gergis.
Ooh.
I
See, I think she's been high. She's
number
higher.
9. I think
She's
I know
been-
this
yeah,
one. I think I researched
just in
this
the
last
top
week, Joel,
10.
actually.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right about 9.
Higher?
Higher.
Yes.
Someone has been researching because that is correct and that is absolutely bang on.
She was my alternate for last
Oh,
week.
she-
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Yes, correct.
This is when you
Career
pick
high
too close a
9.
theme, Joel.
It was too good not to. Right. That is 2 correct answers. The next player I have for you is Rainer Schuttler.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, I think he might have been about 7 in the world a long time
Higher,
ago.
lower, or same
Oh,
than
that's
9. Rainer Schuttler.
It could be same.
My gut says higher, but I also said 29 for Kohlschreiber. So, Kim,
No, well, my initial thought was about 7 in the world. So let's go higher.
do it.
Yeah.
You know, if it ends, it ends.
Schuttler, higher.
Joel will be happy.
Higher?
Yes.
That is correct.
Woo.
Career high 5.
Oh, okay.
5.
Well done.
Good
Yeah.
for him.
So, yeah, quite surprising there. Right, okay. I've got 2 players left. So you're smashing it so far. The next player I have for you is Nicholas Kiefer.
I'm going to be honest, I
Higher,
have no memory of this player.
Lower or same than
Nicholas-
I
5?
remember him.
When was
I
he
don't.
playing?
I don't think he would have been higher than 5. I think lower.
When was he? What
Well,
generation are we in?
Sort of
Similar?
He played it.
Jurgen Meltzer kind of
Yeah.
generation.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, I'm going
Alan
lower.
Chich,
Had a very-
kind of Tim Henman era ish.
I'll go lower then.
I think lower.
If this is
Lower?
the same, I'll be
What
furious. Joel.
ranking? What ranking? Lower.
Okay, 13.
I think only just maybe like 7, 8. I mean, he could have been same, I suppose, but let's say lower.
Joel looks like he's about to say
Okay.
same. I can see it in his eyes.
That's incorrect.
Oh,
no! Sorry. Oh, Nicholas.
If you had
Kiefer.
said same, it would have been incorrect. He's been higher.
Really?
Career high
Higher than
4
5.
in the world.
Oh wow.
This really is a blind
Okay.
spot for me. Goodness.
Very, very good tennis player on his day.
What was his best result? Do you remember
he
that?
got to a quarterfinal, I think, at the US Open.
That doesn't normally get you to number 4, or is
but
it?
he's very consistent at all Grand Slams.
Bit of a Rublev.
Career high 4. I did have one final one. We're just gonna run. We're just gonna run with it because I loved putting this in. My final one was Laura Siegmund's doubles career high ranking.
Oh, she's been number 1,
Surely
baby.
higher, yeah.
Surely. Her and Vonareva picked up some slams.
No, higher, lower, or same than 4?
Higher.
I think she's been higher.
Higher?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's incorrect as well. It was
Really?
same. Career
Joel.
high 4 in doubles.
We always think you're going to end with the same, but I think I tapped out when we lost at this one. You know?
But there you go. There you go.
Let's hope we don't have part 3 next week, Kim.
Yes.
If you're quizmaster.
Yeah, I don't want to hear Daniel Altmaier's name.
Yeah, German players part 3. Well, you never know. I could rustle that up for us. But thank you very much, Joel. Listeners, how did you get on? Any German listeners perhaps nailing that one?
Screaming into the mic. Yeah.
Or Nicholas Kiefer fans, perhaps. Yeah. But let's dip into the mailbag now. We had Lindsay contact us on Instagram. So thanks very much, Lindsay, for getting in touch. She said, "Hello, Tennis Weekly. You've been covering the electronic failures on the tour in recent weeks, and it feels like it's gone up a notch in Madrid with the Zverev line call decision. The main benefit of electronic line calling is the improved accuracy, but that clearly isn't the case. And for tournaments not to pay line judges, but we've seen the power go out, and with it, the tournament in Madrid grinding to a halt, should we not just go back to good old line judges and challenges? Because it feels as though no one is happy with this best of no worlds approach to technology and tennis. And it's also not half as fun without it." So, yeah, there was an incident with Zverev, basically, similar to the Sabalenka one from the week before, where he's posted it on social media, and you can see the ball is quite far out, yet the line call technology said it was in. So, yeah, what do you make of this? Do you think Lindsay's got a point? Should we go back to line judges? Should we axe electronic line calling on the clay? What do you think, Chris?
It's not been a great start to the clay season with electronic line calling. I do think the Sabalenka call was a bad one. This one is very bad. It feels like there's a complete collaboration issue with it, that it's just not been calibrated right, because it's very out. It's not close. And what's being shown on the screen is not anything like what you can see in reality. So I think there's a real trust issue that you'd have. I think a lot of the players have been responding to this, and I think, for example, Donna Vekic also said this was so bad. A lot of the WTA players and ATP players have been supporting the fact that Sasha actually did post this picture a la Sabalenka, who also had a similar incident.
He was pleading with the umpire to go down and look at the
Mohamed Leoni was not going down. He said that's what it said. That's how it works. And I do think there should be a way that you can check it, because if it is clearly wrong, you have to do something about it. But at the same time, if it is wrong, what do you do for the other calls in the match? Do you trust it? Because this wouldn't make me trust the calls if I was a player. So even though you might have got a few dodgy line calls with your line judges in the past, I do think it tended to be pretty good. And then if you did want to challenge it, you could. Someone could come down and look at the mark. And I think that's probably a better way of going, if I'm honest. And I'm not sure that on clay it necessarily adds to the experience either.
Yeah, I think also if we're getting instances like this where we can clearly see how far different it is, it's just gonna, it loses the integrity of the all line calls.
He must have known as well, Leoni, because you can see the mark from the chair. It was very, very out.
Yeah. I feel like if he had committed to getting off his seat, it's probably going to make the situation worse, because he'll be looking at like some really blatant evidence, and he would almost have to doubt it. But yeah, it does make me think that like the PR officer for electronic line calling at the moment has their kind of job cut out, it feels like, because these situations, it almost feels like Sabalenka has started a trend here with taking a photo of a mark on a tennis court and posting it online. And I think that is one of the challenges that is unique to clay. And it was something I was reading about earlier this week, is that unlike other court surfaces, maybe arguably you can see a little dot on the hard courts, but you can see the mark really clearly on a clay court versus like grass, for example. And that's why I think there's so much contention, because you've got the technology kind of making the decision, but you can also make the decision and have some sort of evidence you can see with your eyes and point at. And that is more or less kind of taken away, I think, on a grass court or a hard court, that I think helps implement the technology. I do think that having challenges, I think, is better. I think, with Zverev, it's like he wants to do something. He doesn't want to just accept it. And maybe having the option to challenge gives him some sort of kind of more freedom and power, and not just kind of going to a resolute, you must accept this as fact straight away. Having said that, it still feels like, Chris, as you said, like looking at the evidence at the moment, it feels like the discrepancy is big, and you can just see why there are probably reservations by the French Open to be like, I'm not sure this technology is quite ready yet.
And people are saying that Ostapenko actually was always right, Hawkeye's always been wrong, but I think we do assume it is more accurate than it actually is. I think with Hawkeye, for example, it has like a margin of error of 2.6 millimeters, but it can be as high as 10 millimeters, but it is still supposedly around 10% more accurate than line judges' calls. So that is actually, when you look at these marks, that's 10 millimeters is actually quite considerable when it comes to this. And if you are presenting it as that is the call, it still isn't 100% accuracy. And I think that's probably something that players will feel shortchanged at. And there are bad calls that we made on Hawkeye, and I don't think a lot of people actually know that. And I think, Joel, you're right. It was exposed by the clay so far this clay season.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. And thank you, Lindsay, for bringing us.
We need
bringing it to our
markless tennis
attention.
balls on the court.
Yeah, just wipe it immediately.
Find another solution.
Markless clay court.
Self-brushing.
Yeah, well,
no
yes.
dust.
No dust. Clay is a tricky one. It's a tricky beast. But thank you for sending your question in. Keep them coming. We love to receive them and to put our opinions to them. And let's put our opinions to the new Carlos Alcaraz Netflix docuseries that has been released on Netflix. So we've managed to watch a bit of it so far. And what are we thinking? Do you think it's a good watch? Would you recommend, Joel? I think you've
I'm
seen
brushing up on my Spanish,
most
Kim,
of it.
whilst
Yeah,
I'm
it's in
watching
Spanish, but you can obviously put subtitles on or listen
what have
to
you
it
learned,
in a
Joel?
slightly American English.
Sangria, did you learn that word? Or
Well,
Ibiza?
his mum
Pasha?
his mum is a fantastic cook. Is what I've learned. He said she's like a world champion cook. So that was one thing. But no, it's been very, I think, revealing and really insightful in terms of, for me, like the team and kind of that work ethic, I guess, that you need to reach world number one in the world, reach multiple Grand Slam titles, and the work ethic that Carlos Alcaraz has. And I found it interesting in the kind of build up to the French Open last season, when he was dealing with an injury to his forearm, that his team were really pushing him. And I was almost surprised, actually. It sounded like they kind of pushed him to play Barcelona when maybe his body was telling him not to. So it just gave me a little bit of insight in terms of like there is a lot of
like the pressure.
There's
on
a lot
such
of pressure
young person.
there.
Yeah,
exactly. And he spoke about, like, they don't want tennis to feel like an obligation. And for Carlos Alcaraz, that means he's always wanting to make it fun, and it was nice to see like press opportunities, making those more creative. I think he was like having an MMA style fight on a tennis court with a Spanish MMA fighter. But it just showed, I think, having that balance is necessary when I think tennis is your life, or it needs to be your life to get to that level. You need to have some sort of fun, creative outlets, so it doesn't necessarily feel like work or an obligation. So that's what I learned from it, from the first episode. But yeah, to me, it was quite interesting. And I need to watch the second episode, because I think the second episode focuses on the Rafa rivalry, so it could be quite revealing. Yes,
I think so. I've only also just done the first episode, but I would like to carry on with it, which is always the hallmark of a good enough series. I think it's just it's interesting to see sort of behind the scenes, and there is sort of the talk about him trying to balance having a bit of a life outside of tennis, seeing his friends, going to Ibiza and having a bit of a party, and he's a young lad. He wants to kind of do it all, but he's got to know when he needs to rest and pursue those other things versus knuckling down and being ultimately, dedicated to his career. So it's tricky trying to navigate that, I imagine, especially at that age. What do you think, though? I mean, who do you think would also be a good candidate for a similar style docu-series? Who would you like to see Netflix follow around for 3 hours? Well, for 3 hours of footage. The end
that's
result.
a good one. You know what? I would like to see JPEG. I want to be on the jet. I really do.
Oh, the bougie life. Ooh.
I want to see
love that.
her skincare routine. I want to see what she gets up to, what it's like to, be that cash money. But I also think Coco Gauff would be great as well. I think she's really entertaining, and she's doing some really cool partnerships, like the Miu Miu partnership that she's just had. I think all that stuff is really exciting. She went to the Oscars. She's living probably the most high-profile tennis life on the WTA Tour, that's for sure. So that would have my vote. I think it would be a bit different from, the parting of Carlos Alcaraz, wouldn't it? I think to have like a contrast. Or Yannick Sinner's. I mean, the year of Yannick Sinner. If you picked up the cameras during this whole
it would be box
debacle.
Office.
I mean, goodness me, probably embargoed.
I don't think he plays enough tennis on the tour, to be honest. But Nick Kyrgios to me would be on the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, Joel.
Just feels like it would be good entertainment and the sort of
would there be a happy ending?
I feel like the Netflix bosses, they would lap that sort of stuff up. I feel like they want to bring some sort of entertainment to the angle, to kind of
the bad boy
sport
angle.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's that whole Breakpoint episode.
Gets the mass media.
That was episode 1 of Breakpoint, wasn't it? But what about you, Kim?
People in.
Who would it be?
I was thinking
Shramkova.
Oh yeah, Rebecca Shramkova.
Day in life of Shramkova.
Oh god. I was thinking Roger Federer and family. Actually, I think the Federers could make a nice,
come on, Kim,
family
give us someone else.
reality.
Yeah, come on, Kim.
An active player.
Nice. Behind the scenes with Federer and family, like the kids, what are they doing? Not in
Anyone
a freaky way,
active
but
on tour.
Active on tour. Well, I guess Gail Monfils and Svitolina.
Oh, that would be good.
That's a great one.
I would watch Gems Live. That would be a really good one.
Gems Live, the docuseries. Fantastic.
No, I actually think maybe that should be a reality show, not a docuseries.
Oh, like on E.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like
with the Monfils.
Yeah,
Muguruza could do a reality show these days because she's up
or
to
a workout DVD.
Interesting
also
things. Yeah.
Or what about like just on the reality theme, Housewives of ATP and WTA Tour?
I mean, Martina Navratilova is on the Real Housewives of Miami. I can tell
is
you
she
that.
Really?
She is her partner as a housewife. So we're actually closer than we think to some of these dreams becoming a reality, Joel.
Amazing. Well, let's see what comes out in the future, perhaps. Maybe we should go into, script writing these things.
Production.
Yeah, if this doesn't work out. But let's have a look at the second week of Madrid. It might be a bit chaotic tomorrow because of the Power Cup today. They've got a lot of action planned for tomorrow. Prediction wise, I think I'm definitely doing the worst.
Kim,
of all
what
of us.
happened? Every single prediction, not to draw attention to it, every single prediction for the men, has gone out. I mean,
all of the women except for Sabalenka as well.
If Sabalenka makes it to the final, that could be your redemption. Joel, you're doing pretty well. Only Ostapenko has gone for you. Andreeva's very much on track there with the Coco Gauff clash that's coming up.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Will she beat
by that
Coco?
One.
Yeah,
interesting one. And Schneider's Swiatek opening up on the main court at 11 a.m. I feel like it's a bit more. It's worthy of a bit more than that.
Yeah, well, they've got to get through the matches, Joel.
That's true. Yeah.
Power cuts, you can't sit on your laurels, can you? But yeah, I know what you mean. It seems a bit early for I think that's quite a solid match, and I'm quite intrigued by that one. So
a great ticket, right? Definitely,
absolutely. If you're in Madrid tomorrow, I mean, there's just so much on. It's fantastic.
Power permitting.
Yeah, power permitting. Yeah, if you can get there and
go and call a line, they might need you. Volunteer. If you've got 20/20 vision, head on down.
So what matchups are you both looking forward to tomorrow? Got a plethora of matches.
Yeah. How far can Sakkari go? Oh, okay. Can she go further?
I mean, Draper Berrettini will be pretty tasty, but I'm actually most looking forward to Jamie Murray and Rajiv Ram playing alternate, which is on the schedule. So I'm not sure who that will be, but
Who's
I
the
love that element of
one-man
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just turn up and it'd be a total surprise. Either
Actually,
way.
you could also come down and be an alternate. I mean, it's all happening at the Madrid Open tomorrow.
I
Yes,
was watching
lucky
a bit of
people in
Alex de
Madrid.
Minaur earlier in the week. I think he's looking very good in Madrid. So
But is he Masters winner good
Ah,
on the clay?
I think he's playing good tennis at the moment, and
Okay.
Shapovalov's always got some entertainment value to
Well,
him.
did you back him? You did. You backed him for a semi-final, Joel. So I did as well, actually. So I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah, Chris, your predictions are pretty solid so far. Still going pretty strong.
Never
apart
thought
from
I'd be
Mukova.
wanting Zverev to get the win just so I can have bragging rights. I think I might have to rethink that prediction.
Well, let's see how the rest of Madrid unfolds, shall we? And in the
In-
meantime, if the power goes out again, we'll carry on watching Alcaraz's documentary.
Yeah,
to
we'll
keep us
just
Indeed. It
keep
is a-
watching shows.
Great respite if there is a power cut, but we hope that is behind us from tomorrow and we can get through all the tennis. We're going to wrap up there for our latest catch up though at Tennis Weekly HQ. We hope you've enjoyed the ride with us. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of ATP and WTA action. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting platforms out there.
And if you love what you're hearing, then be sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube.
And you can stay connected with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Threads. And the handle for all of those is Tennis Weekly Pod. You can also submit your Tennis Weekly mailbag to us there on all of the social channels, or you can drop us an email, tennisweeklypod@gmail.com. Or as always, visit our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we'll be back next week for another tour catch up brought to you by Sports Travel and Hospitality Group. But until then, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.